Everyone wants to look disciplined. Few actually are. Real discipline happens in silence, when no one is watching, when no one claps and when no one cares. The 1% don't move for attention, they move for mastery. This isn't about motivation. This is about becoming a weapon of consistency. If you can train yourself to do what must be done, even when you feel nothing, you'll dominate every area of life. This is the 1% mindset. Chapter 1, Stop waiting for motivation. You've been told to find motivation. You've been told to wait until you feel ready. And that's exactly why most people never move. Motivation is a liar. It comes when things are easy. It disappears the moment things get real. If you're waiting for motivation, you're waiting to fail. The truth is simple. Motivation fades. Discipline stays. That's the key. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the world goes cold. You have a choice. You can chase the feeling, or you can chase the mission. The 1% don't wake up feeling powerful. They wake up committed. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what needs to be done? That's the difference. You don't need motivation. You need standards. You don't need energy. You need structure. You don't need a feeling. You need a decision. Motivation is for beginners. Discipline is for winners. The 1% don't move because they're inspired. They move because they've decided to move. Let that sink in. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Repeat that again. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. The people who win in life aren't the ones who feel the best. They're the ones who act the most. They move even when it's hard. They move even when it hurts. They move even when no one claps. Because discipline isn't about feeling good. It's about doing what's right, especially when you don't feel like it. Every time you wait for motivation, you hand control of your life to your emotions, and your emotions are weak. They change with the weather. They follow your comfort. And comfort is poison. The average person says, I'll start when I feel better. The disciplined person says, I'll start now, and I'll feel better later. That's the difference between the 99% and the 1%. If you want to join the 1%, you must become emotionally immune. You must train yourself to act without feeling, because feelings lie. Your feelings will tell you it's okay to rest when you haven't earned rest. Your feelings will tell you to quit when you're one step away from breakthrough. And your feelings will destroy your future if you keep listening to them. You have a choice. You can obey your emotions, or you can command them, but you cannot do both. Real growth begins the moment you act without feeling ready. That's when you start to rewire your mind. Every time you take action while your mind screams, no, you are building dominance over yourself. That's real power, self-control. Think about it. Anyone can work hard when they're excited. Anyone can be consistent when they're being watched. But the 1% grind in silence. They act without applause. They build without validation. They move because that's who they are, not because they feel like it. If you only work when you're motivated, you'll only work sometimes. But if you work from discipline, you'll work every time. It's not about energy. It's about control. It's not about feeling inspired. It's about keeping promises to yourself. You promised yourself you'd start, so start. You promised yourself you'd show up, so show up. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because the secret is this: action creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel good to act. You act, and that's what makes you feel good. That's how you win the day. That's how you build momentum. That's how you create the 1% mindset. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. And logic always wins long term. When your alarm rings at 5 a.m., motivation says, sleep. Discipline says, get up. When life gets hard, motivation says, take a break. Discipline says, take control. When no one notices your effort, motivation says, what's the point? Discipline says, this is the point. The 1% mindset isn't about hype. It's about consistency. It's about doing it again and again and again, even when no one sees the work. You don't need to scream it. You don't need to post it. You just need to live it. Every act of discipline rewires your identity. It tells your mind, I'm not the same anymore. You start to become the person who doesn't negotiate with weakness. You stop saying, I'll try. You start saying, I'll do. You stop waiting for permission. You start giving commands. And that's the real transformation, when you no longer rely on emotion to move. Because once you cross that line, life becomes simple. You don't think. You execute. You don't react. You respond. You don't drift. You decide. That's what makes the 1% untouchable. Their secret isn't luck. It's consistency. Their edge isn't motivation. It's mastery. And the best part? You can build that too, but only if you stop waiting. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for the day you feel ready. It will never come. The only thing real is the decision you make right now. The decision to move, to act, to do the work anyway. Because every second you wait, someone else is building. Someone else is getting sharper, stronger, calmer. Someone else is choosing discipline over comfort. And one day, you'll see the difference. So do it now, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if no one claps. That's how discipline is born, through repetition and silence. You don't rise when you're motivated. You rise when you act without it. Say it again. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Don't let ready become your excuse. Let now become your power. Because this is how the 1% live. By command, not by comfort. By principle, not by feeling. By discipline, not by motivation. That's the mindset that changes everything. You've learned the first rule. Stop waiting. Start acting, because the moment you do, your life begins to shift. You just mastered your first battle. Now, let's go deeper. Let's talk about what happens next. When the resistance hits harder and your emotions fight back. Because discipline doesn't stop here. It's only the beginning. Chapter 2. Do it when you don't feel like it. You won't always feel like it. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel ready. And that's okay, because success doesn't care about how you feel. The truth is this, you don't need to feel it. You need to do it. That's the mantra of the 1%. That's the foundation of true discipline. Most people only act when it's convenient, when the weather is perfect, when their mood is right, when life feels comfortable. But the 1%, they act on command. They don't wait for a good day. They make every day a command day. Because they understand something most people don't. Your feelings are suggestions, not orders. Your mind will whisper, not today. It'll say, you deserve a break. It'll tempt you with comfort disguised as peace. And that's where your battle begins. You're not fighting the world. You're fighting the voice inside your head that keeps saying, later. Every time you ignore that voice and take action anyway, you're training your brain. You're teaching it who's in control. And that's the real victory, not the workout, not the project, not the task. The victory is proving to yourself that you can act despite resistance. You don't win because you feel strong. You win because you act strong. You don't move because you're inspired. You move because you've made it non-negotiable. Say it again. You don't need to feel it. You need to do it. The average person acts when it's easy. The elite act when it's hard. The average person looks for comfort. The elite look for challenge. That's why one stays average and the other becomes unstoppable. When you don't feel like doing it, that's the exact moment you must. That's the line between comfort and control. That's the test life gives you every single day. Every I don't feel like it is an opportunity. An opportunity to build the muscle of obedience. An opportunity to prove that your emotions don't own you. And make no mistake, that's the key. You must own your emotions before they own you. Because if your emotions control your actions, your life will always be unstable. One day you'll work hard. The next day you'll quit. One day you'll chase your dream. The next day you'll scroll away your time. That's what emotional control means. Doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. You have a choice every morning. Stay comfortable or stay committed. The 1% make that choice automatically. They've trained themselves to move without negotiation. They don't discuss it with themselves. They don't debate. They just act. Because every time you debate with your emotions, you lose. Every time you say, maybe later, you weaken your own power. Every time you choose comfort, you confirm to your brain that laziness wins. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. To quit, to delay, to give in. That's why you must reverse the pattern. Every time your mind says, I don't feel like it, that's your green light. That's your green light. That's your signal to move. That's when it counts the most. When you feel like quitting, do one more rep. When you feel like resting, finish the task. When you feel like giving up, push 10 more minutes. Because that's when growth happens, not when it's easy. When it's hard, say it again, you don't need to feel it. You need to do it. Your emotions will scream. Your body will resist. Your mind will make excuses. But remember this, discipline doesn't listen to emotions. Discipline listens to orders. Every time you obey your own command, your brain rewires itself. It learns that action comes first, feelings come later. And here's the beautiful truth. Feelings follow action. You don't act because you feel confident. You feel confident because you acted. You don't act because you're ready. You feel ready because you acted. You don't act because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you acted. That's the secret everyone misses. They keep waiting to feel something, strength, motivation, excitement, before they move. But the 1% move first. That's why they win. You're not supposed to feel great all the time. You're supposed to move despite how you feel. Discipline is the bridge between emotion and excellence. The moment you cross that bridge, you enter a different world. A world where your word becomes law, where your goals stop being dreams and start being results. When you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. That's integrity. That's confidence. That's control. And control is everything. Because when you control yourself, you control your future. When you obey your own commands, you stop being at the mercy of your mood. Every time you push through resistance, you become more dangerous. Not to others, but to your own weakness. That's what the 1% mindset really is. The ability to say, I will, when your entire body says, I can't. When you understand that, you become unstoppable. You stop chasing motivation and start creating it. You stop waiting for the right time and start making every time right. You stop being emotional and you start being intentional. Remember, every action you take without emotion is a statement of power. It's you telling your mind, you work for me, not the other way around. The difference between the average and the elite is not talent. It's obedience. The elite act on command. They don't ask permission from their emotions to move. So the next time you don't feel like it, good. That's your moment. That's your chance to grow. That's the real test. Because the world won't reward you for what you plan to do. It will only reward you for what you actually did. And the ones who do it, even when they don't feel like it. Those are the ones who lead. Those are the ones who dominate. Those are the ones who quietly become unstoppable. Repeat this to yourself daily. You don't need to feel it. You need to do it. That's your command code. That's your switch. That's your identity now. Because when you live by this rule, nothing can stop you. Not tiredness. Not fear. Not mood. Not doubt. You'll act anyway. And that anyway, that single decision, will separate you from 99% of people who keep waiting for the right feeling. You now know the truth. Your emotions are not your masters. You are. The more you act without feeling, the more powerful you become. And that power, that control, that quiet dominance, is the essence of the 1% mindset. You've learned to act without emotion. You've learned to move without motivation. Now it's time to understand what truly builds mastery. Repetition. Because power doesn't come from one day of action. It comes from doing it every day, no matter how you feel. So let's go deeper into the next step of transformation. Chapter 3, The Power of Boring Repetition. Everyone wants to be great, but very few are willing to do what greatness actually requires. Boredom. Yes, boredom. Because the truth is greatness is hidden inside routines that look boring from the outside. You see, the 1% don't chase excitement. They chase excellence. They don't wake up every day looking for new tricks. They wake up to do the same small things over and over until perfection is automatic. From the outside, it looks dull. From the inside, it's sacred. That's the secret most people never learn. The elite don't master 1,000 things once. They master one thing 1,000 times. Because mastery is built on repetition. And repetition looks boring until it doesn't. Think about the greatest athletes on earth. They don't train new moves every day. They perfect the same one every single day. Kobe Bryant shot the same jumper for hours. Tiger Woods swung the same club thousands of times. Cristiano Ronaldo practiced the same strike until it became reflex. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's real. That's the difference between entertainment and excellence. Most people want to be entertained by their work. The 1% want to be excellent at their work. Because the truth is, boredom is the price of mastery. If you can't handle doing the same thing over and over, you'll never reach your full potential. You have a choice. You can chase stimulation or you can build skill. But you can't have both. The 99% quit when things get repetitive. They say, I already know this. The 1% say, good, now I can master it. That's the mindset. That's the discipline. That's the boring magic that creates the extraordinary. You have to fall in love with the grind. You have to fall in love with the repetition. Because that's where your greatness hides. Behind the work no one wants to do. It's easy to start something new. It's hard to repeat something old. That's why people quit. Not because it's hard, but because it's repetitive. But here's the truth. Every repetition is a deposit into your future power. Every small act done again and again compounds over time. Repetition is the quiet engine of transformation. You don't become strong by lifting once. You don't become wise by reading once. You don't become disciplined by acting once. You become all those things by doing them again and again and again. It's not about variety. It's It's about consistency. It's not about excitement. It's about execution. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters daily. That's how you build automatic greatness. Because here's the secret. The goal of repetition isn't effort, it's automation. You repeat until it no longer requires thought, until discipline becomes instinct, until your habits take over and do the work for you. That's what the 1% understand. They're not relying on motivation anymore. They're powered by pattern. Once you repeat something enough times, your mind and body align. They stop asking for permission. They just do it. That's freedom. Not the freedom to do what you want, but the freedom to do what must be done effortlessly. And that freedom only comes from repetition. Say it with me. Boring repetition builds powerful results. You don't need new goals. You need new levels of commitment to the basics. Everyone wants the secret formula. Everyone wants the next big hack. But the truth is, mastery doesn't come from complexity. It comes from doing the simple things repeatedly, without failure, without distraction, without boredom breaking you. You want to be fit. Lift, eat clean, sleep, repeat. You want to grow your mind? Read, think, write, repeat. You want to master discipline? Wake up, execute, repeat. It's that simple. And simplicity is what scares people. Because simplicity removes excuses. You can't hide behind "I didn't know." You can only hide behind "I didn't repeat." And that's what separates amateurs from professionals. Repetition. Professionals train even when they've already mastered the skill. They refine, they polish, they rehearse. They understand that mastery isn't an end, it's a rhythm. That rhythm might look boring, but it's beautiful. Because behind that repetition lies power, control, and dominance. The world sees the highlight. The 1% live the habit. What people call talent is just repeated practice made invisible. You don't see the hours. You only see the outcome. And that's why repetition matters. It hides your hard work inside effortless execution. Say it again, you don't need excitement. You need repetition. Every time you repeat something, you're carving a new pathway in your mind. Neural repetition builds identity. The more you repeat disciplined actions, the more you become a disciplined person. Discipline isn't what you do once. It's who you become through repetition. That's why the 1% don't need motivation. Their repetition already built momentum. It's automatic now. They don't think about whether they'll do it. They've already done it 1,000 times before. You want to reach that level? Then start repeating. Stop chasing new. Start mastering what you already know. Repetition turns ordinary habits into extraordinary results. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not entertaining. But it's effective. And effectiveness always beats excitement. That's how mastery is born, not from bursts of brilliance, but from daily repetition in silence. You have to accept the boredom. You have to embrace the grind. Because the grind is not punishment. The grind is preparation. Every rep, every task, every repetition is a vote for the future version of you. And the more votes you cast, the stronger that version becomes. That's the compound effect of discipline. Small acts repeated consistently become unstoppable momentum. So if you're bored, good. That means you're getting close to mastery. That means you're doing it right. The 1% don't run from boredom. They use it. They understand that what feels repetitive today will feel powerful tomorrow. Because repetition doesn't just build skills. It builds identity. It builds trust. It builds power. The power to execute without hesitation. The power to perform under pressure. The power to lead yourself, quietly, efficiently, relentlessly. So don't chase the next new thing. Chase consistency. Don't chase variety. Chase mastery. Because greatness is not about how much you do. It's about how often you repeat what works. That's the rule of the 1%. That's the quiet code of power. You've now learned the secret of repetition, the foundation of all mastery. You've learned that boredom isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Now it's time to face your greatest threat, the addiction that destroys discipline. Dopamine. Let's move forward. Chapter 4. Discipline over dopamine. The modern world is designed to steal your focus. Every ping, every scroll, every notification, each one is a tiny hook, dragging your attention away piece by piece. You're not weak. You're being hunted. The system runs on your distraction. Your attention is the new currency, and the world is rich because you keep paying. Every time you open that app, you feed the machine. Every time you chase the next hit of excitement, you lose a piece of yourself. Because dopamine, that tiny chemical spark, is not your friend. It's the drug of distraction. It gives you pleasure now and steals your power later. But discipline is the antidote. Discipline is the quiet rebellion against dopamine. Repeat this with me. Every time you delay pleasure, you build power. Say it again. Let it sink in. Every time you delay pleasure, you build power. That's not just a sentence. That's a law. You see, dopamine gives you instant satisfaction, a flash, a thrill, a false victory. Discipline gives you delayed satisfaction, a foundation, a strength, a real victory. Dopamine whispers, you deserve a break. Discipline replies, I deserve better. That's the battle happening inside you every single day. When you scroll instead of study, dopamine wins. When you eat instead of train, dopamine wins. When you react instead of reflect, dopamine wins. But when you say no, when you close the app, when you finish the task, when you sit in silence, you win. Because every time you delay pleasure, you build power. That power compounds. That's how mental strength grows. One no at a time. The truth is, the most dangerous addiction today isn't drugs or alcohol. It's dopamine without direction. Endless scrolling, constant checking, perpetual stimulation. Your brain becomes addicted to the next thing, the next message, the next video, the next like, the next hit. And when everything is stimulating, nothing feels satisfying. You're left tired, empty, and restless, craving, but never fulfilled. That's the trap. That's why discipline matters more than ever. Because discipline is not about suffering. It's about control. Control over your time. Control over your emotions. Control over your energy. It's not about saying no to life. It's about saying yes to what matters. Let's be honest. The world rewards dopamine chasers with likes, but it rewards disciplined minds with legacy. The world gives you comfort for a moment. Discipline gives you confidence for a lifetime. So choose your reward. A quick hit of pleasure or a lifetime of power. Because dopamine makes you feel good now. Discipline makes you feel good forever. And the truth is, you can't build greatness on dopamine. You build it on discipline. You build it in the quiet moments when no one's watching. When your phone is on silent. When your focus belongs only to your purpose. That's where the elite live. That's where the 1% separate from the crowd. The 99% can't go 5 minutes without stimulation. The 1% can go 5 hours in silence because they own their mind. They know boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the doorway to mastery, because when the brain isn't distracted, it starts creating. When it's not fed junk, it starts building strength. So here's the rule. Don't let dopamine drive your day. Let discipline design it. Your phone is not your boss. Your cravings are not your commands. Your mind is yours. Take it back. Start small. Delay one small pleasure today. Skip one useless scroll. Ignore one meaningless notification. And when you do, whisper the line again. Every time I delay pleasure, I build power. Because you are rewiring your brain, literally. Every time you choose discipline, you weaken the addiction loop. Every time you resist temptation, your willpower grows stronger. It's like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The first no feels hard. The 10th feels easier. The 100th feels natural. That's how discipline becomes identity. Soon you won't need to fight your impulses. They'll obey you. Your focus will return. Your control will return. Your clarity will return. And that's when you start winning. Not just externally, but internally. Because discipline isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. You're not saying no to pleasure. You're saying yes to purpose. You're not losing enjoyment. You're regaining control. You're not giving up life. You're mastering it. You don't have to delete your apps or live like a monk. You just have to control the ratio. Less dopamine, more direction. Don't scroll to escape reality. Work to upgrade it. Don't seek comfort in distraction. Seek power in discomfort. That's where transformation happens. Every time you delay pleasure, you build patience. Every time you delay pleasure, you build power. Every time you delay pleasure, you build peace. Because power without peace is chaos, and peace without discipline is impossible. Your discipline is your peace. It's the silence in the noise, the calm in the chaos. That's why the strongest people in the world look calm. They've conquered themselves. They've stopped letting dopamine decide how they feel. They decide how they feel. They decide what they do. They decide when they rest. That's mastery. That's real freedom. You don't become free by doing whatever you want. You become free by mastering what you want. And that mastery only comes from discipline. So next time you feel the urge to check, to scroll, to distract, pause. Take a breath. Remember the rule. Every time you delay pleasure, you build power. You're not missing out. You're leveling up. Because discipline is not deprivation. Discipline is delayed dominance. You're training your brain to serve you, not enslave you. That's the real secret of the 1%. They don't run on dopamine. They run on discipline. They don't chase comfort. They chase control. And when you learn to control your impulses, you become unstoppable. Because a person who can delay pleasure can delay defeat. You'll no longer be driven by what feels good. You'll be driven by what's right. And that's the foundation of power, peace, and performance. Remember, the modern world wants your attention. Don't give it for free. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. When you master dopamine, you master yourself. When you master yourself, you master life. So keep repeating it until it becomes your code. Every time I delay pleasure, I build power. Now that you've learned to master your impulses, it's time to master your environment. Because no discipline can survive in a toxic atmosphere. Next, we go deeper. Chapter 5. Build an identity of control. You can't act disciplined if you don't see yourself as a disciplined person. You can't live in control if deep down you believe you're out of control. Everything you do, every habit, every decision, every routine starts with one thing, your identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. That's the secret the 1% understand. They don't try to act disciplined. They are disciplined. It's not an act. It's who they are. They've built an identity of control. Because when discipline is who you are, not just what you do, it becomes automatic. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't argue with your emotions. You simply execute. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need to get inspired. You simply do what a disciplined person does. That's the shift. From doing to being. From acting to embodying. You can't fake consistency. It has to live in your self-image. Think about it. If you see yourself as lazy, you'll always find proof to confirm it. If you see yourself as weak, you'll keep behaving in ways that prove it true. Because the brain loves consistency, even if it's destroying you. It would rather be consistently wrong than inconsistently right. So the key to transformation isn't just changing your habits. It's changing who you believe you are. Stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined. Start saying, I'm a disciplined person. Say it until it feels real. Say it until it becomes real. Because identity leads action, not the other way around. Look at the people who win consistently. They don't have to force their habits. They live by standards that match their identity. A person who sees themselves as an athlete doesn't try. To train, training is part of who they are. A person who sees themselves as a professional doesn't try. To be on time, showing up is their default setting. A person who sees themselves as disciplined doesn't wait for permission. They act. Because that's what they do. Identity drives consistency. Consistency builds results. Results reinforce identity. That's the loop. So ask yourself, who are you training your brain to believe you are? Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Each workout, each book, each early morning. It's not about the result. It's about the identity. You're casting votes for you. And identity is built through repetition. The first time you act disciplined, your brain notices. The 10th time, it starts believing. The 100th time, it becomes who you are. You see, you don't become disciplined overnight. You become disciplined every night, when you do what others won't. The 1% don't perform for the world. They perform for themselves. Because they know your self-image is your ceiling. And until you raise that, you'll never rise. Let's get brutally honest for a second. You can have the best routines, the perfect plan, the strongest goals. But if you secretly think, I'm not that kind of person, you'll sabotage everything. That's why people relapse. That's why they break promises to themselves. Because the old identity always pulls them back. Change starts in the mind, not the schedule. If you want to act differently, you have to believe differently. Start with language. Your words shape your world. Stop saying, I'm trying to wake up early. Start saying, I'm the kind of person who wakes up early. Stop saying, I want to be disciplined. Start saying, discipline is who I am. Because every time you speak your identity, your subconscious listens. And your subconscious always obeys repetition. That's why affirmation without action doesn't work. But action without identity doesn't last. You need both. Identity is the root. Action is the fruit. Change the root, and the fruit follows automatically. Think about elite athletes. They don't wake up every morning motivated. They wake up every morning programmed. Their mind has been rewired through years of repetition. They don't question the workout. They don't debate it. They don't delay it. They do it, because it's part of who they are. And you can do the same. You can reprogram your brain to obey discipline, not emotion. But you have to stop identifying with your weaknesses. Stop saying, I'm inconsistent. Stop saying, I always quit. Stop saying, I'm just not that type of person. Because every time you repeat those sentences, you strengthen the chains holding you back. Your words are commands to your subconscious. so choose them carefully. If you call yourself lazy, your mind will give you reasons to rest. If you call yourself unstoppable, your mind will give you reasons to rise. You are constantly training your identity, whether you know it or not. So train it consciously. Build an identity of control. Start small. Keep promises to yourself. Finish what you start. Do hard things, not to prove something to the world, but to prove something to yourself. Because every time you follow through, you cast another vote for the identity you want to own. That's how the 1% think. They don't just discipline their habits, they discipline their self-image. They ask themselves daily, what kind of person am I becoming through these actions? And then they act accordingly. You want to build mental toughness? Start with identity toughness. You want emotional control? Start with identity control. You can't control your feelings until you control your frame. And your frame is your identity. Here's the truth. You are always becoming someone. The only question is, are you becoming that person on purpose? You are programming yourself every day through your choices, your focus, your repetition. So choose who you want to be and start living that identity now, because waiting to feel ready is a lie. Acting like the person you want to become, that's how you become them. Identity first, action second, mastery third. That's the real order of transformation. And remember, you don't need anyone's permission to reinvent yourself. You can decide right now. You can wake up tomorrow and say, this is who I am now, and then prove it through action, through repetition, through consistency, because identity isn't about saying it once. It's about living it daily. Every time you control your emotions, you reinforce control. Every time you keep your word, you reinforce trust. Every time you choose discipline, you reinforce dominance. Soon you won't just practice control, you'll be control. That's how you become unshakable. That's how you build an identity of discipline that no environment, no failure, no setback can destroy. Because discipline isn't something you do for a season. It's something you become for life. And that identity, once built, and becomes unstoppable. So from this moment on, stop chasing the feeling of discipline. Start embodying the identity of it. Repeat it until it sinks in. I don't do disciplined things. I am a disciplined person. Say it, live it, be it. Because when identity and discipline merge, greatness is inevitable. You've built the mindset. You've built the control. Now it's time to protect it from everything and everyone trying to pull you off track. Next, we'll go deeper into your environment, because your identity survives only where your surroundings support it. Next chapter, the environment of excellence. Chapter 6, the war with comfort. Comfort is the silent killer of ambition. It doesn't shout. It doesn't attack. It whispers. It says you've done enough. It says you deserve to rest. It says, take it easy, you'll start tomorrow. And just like that, it kills your fire. Not with pain, but with peace. Because comfort doesn't look dangerous. It looks soft. It looks safe. It feels good. But that's exactly why it's lethal. Comfort is not peace. It's poison disguised as peace. It's the quiet trap that turns warriors into watchers and builders into dreamers. You can't grow inside your comfort zone. You can't evolve in a place built for ease. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. Say that again. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. That sentence should be branded into your mind. Because comfort is the enemy that destroys more dreams than fear ever will. The 1% know this truth. They understand that growth is pain disguised as progress. They run toward the discomfort that everyone else avoids. Because they know that's where evolution happens. Look at any person who's achieved mastery. They didn't get there through comfort. They got there through struggle. They didn't feel good on their way up. They felt pressure, fatigue, resistance, and they kept moving anyway. Every time you push against resistance, you build strength. Every time you choose the harder path, you build power. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you step closer to your potential. That's the paradox of progress. The more you seek comfort, the weaker you become. The more you seek discomfort, the stronger you grow. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. Your body doesn't grow in comfort. Muscles tear before they strengthen. Your mind doesn't expand in comfort. It grows through struggle, through problem solving, through failure. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. But the world teaches you the opposite. It sells comfort like a product. Soft beds, fast food, quick rewards, endless entertainment. Every advertisement screams, you deserve this. No, you don't deserve comfort. You deserve growth. And growth requires discomfort. The modern world has made comfort the goal, and that's why people feel so empty. Because the more comfort you have, the less meaning you feel. Humans were not built to be endlessly comfortable. We were built to overcome. We were built to push. We were built to earn peace through pain. Peace earned through effort lasts. Comfort stolen through avoidance fades. So stop chasing comfort. Start chasing challenge. When you wake up tired and don't want to work, that's your moment. That's your war. Because if you only work when it's easy, you'll never work enough to matter. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. Comfort feeds ego. Discomfort feeds growth. Comfort keeps you average. Discomfort makes you exceptional. Think about the 1%. They are not more talented. They are more tolerant of discomfort, of boredom, of pain. They've trained their mind to stay calm when most people quit. They've taught themselves to suffer with purpose. That's the real difference. That's the gap between the 1% and the rest. Because success isn't built on motivation. It's built on mental endurance. The ability to sit in pain, to tolerate frustration, to act when it hurts. That's discipline. And discipline is born in discomfort. Comfort tells you to stop. Discipline tells you to continue. Comfort wants pleasure. Discipline wants power. Which one will you choose? You can't serve both. You can't chase growth and comfort at the same time. One kills the other. Comfort kills ambition. Discomfort fuels it. Repeat this truth until it becomes instinct. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. Let's talk about reality. Most people live in cycles of comfort. They avoid hard work. They avoid confrontation. They avoid anything that makes them feel small, uncertain, or uncomfortable. And because they avoid it, they stay small. They never stretch. They never test their limits. They never discover who they could become. That's the tragedy of comfort. It keeps you alive, but it kills your potential. You weren't designed to live easy. You were designed to live purposefully, to struggle, to build, to fight. The warrior inside you doesn't wake up when you're comfortable. It wakes up when you're tested. When life pushes you, when everything hurts, when you want to quit, that's when your real self steps forward. You don't find strength in safety. You find it in suffering. And every time you survive discomfort, your mind learns something new. I can handle this. I can keep going. I can control myself. That's how confidence is built. That's how the 1% think. They don't look for the easy route. They look for the right route. And often the right route is the hard one. But it's also the one that builds you. You have to build a new relationship with pain. Stop seeing it as punishment. Start seeing it as progress. Pain means growth. Struggle means strength. Discomfort means direction. If it's comfortable, it's not building you. You want a stronger body? Embrace the burn. You want a sharper mind? Read when you're tired. You want more focus? Work without your phone. You want real peace? Earn it through chaos. That's how discipline is built. That's how confidence is born. That's how greatness is forged. Because comfort is cheap. Discomfort is expensive, and that's why it's valuable. You're not supposed to feel comfortable all the time. You're supposed to evolve. Every day, ask yourself one question. What discomfort am I avoiding? Then run straight toward it, because on the other side of that discomfort is your next level. That's where your power hides. That's where your potential lies. That's where the 1% operate, in the zone everyone else avoids. They know. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. Discomfort is not a curse. It's construction. You are being built every time you choose challenge over comfort. And the next time your mind tells you, take it easy, reply with truth. If it's comfortable, it's not building me. That's your new mantra. That's your battle cry. The war with comfort is fought daily, in every small decision, every lazy impulse, every temptation to slow down. Fight that war. Win it daily, because your destiny depends on it. You've learned to fight comfort. Now, it's time to learn to fight noise, the endless distractions that drain your power. Because comfort weakens your will. Distraction steals your direction. Chapter 7. Master the voice in your head. That voice inside your head, it never stops talking. It tells you you're tired. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you to rest, just for a bit. But here's the truth. That voice is not your master. It's a test. Every single day, your mind will whisper excuses louder than reality ever will. It'll exaggerate pain. It'll amplify fear. It'll create imaginary walls and call them limits. But those walls, they exist only in your mind. You must learn to separate the voice from your command. You must understand that inner voice is not you. It's the weaker version of you, the lazy self, the doubtful self, the emotional self. The 1% listen, but they don't obey. They hear the whisper, and they still move. Because discipline is not silence. Discipline is selective hearing, the voice of excuse versus the voice of power. You have two voices inside you. One says, I'll start tomorrow. The other says, do it now. One says, I'm not ready. The other says, start anyway. Which one wins? The one you feed, the one you obey. Every time you listen to the weak voice, it grows stronger. It learns that you can be manipulated. But every time you act against it, every time you move when you don't feel like it, you reclaim control. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the commander. That's the mindset the 1% live by. They don't argue with their mind. They command it, because the mind loves negotiation. It loves comfort. It loves delay. But winners don't negotiate with weakness. They recognize the trick and move through it. Repeat this to yourself. I don't obey my emotions. I command them. That's the key. The mental battlefield. Every morning the war begins. Before the first step, before the first decision, before the first action. It starts the moment you wake up. Your mind says, 5 more minutes. Your discipline says, get up now. That's the real battlefield, not the gym, not your business, not your relationships. It's inside your own head. The strongest people on earth aren't the ones who never feel lazy. They're the ones who fight that feeling every single day and win. When you master that inner war, you master life. So train for it. Every time your mind says, not today, you respond, exactly today. Every time it says, I can't, you respond, watch me. Every time it says, later, you say now. That's mental dominance. That's how you rewire your brain, the not today technique. Here's your exercise, your daily weapon. Every time your mind says, I can't, whisper back, not today. That phrase is your armor. It's your reminder that weakness can knock, but it doesn't get to enter. You're not trying to silence the voice. You're trying to control it. You're not deleting fear. You're leading through it. That's how you build psychological muscle. Imagine an athlete during a grueling workout. Their body screams to stop. Their mind yells, it's enough, but they don't stop. Why? Because they've trained that inner voice. They've made it their tool, not their master. And the same rule applies to every area of life. When you want to quit studying, not today. When you want to skip your discipline, not today. When you want to scroll instead of build, not today. Those 2 words change everything. Because every time you use them, you're teaching your brain who's in charge. You're proving that emotions can't dictate your destiny. Thought command. The average person believes every thought they think. They feel tired and stop. They feel insecure and hide. They feel doubt and freeze. But you're different. You understand that thoughts are just signals, not commands. You can observe them and still act. You can feel fear and still move forward. That's where real power begins. Not in controlling what you feel, but in choosing what you obey. That's the separation between the 99% and the 1%. The 99% think they need motivation to move. The 1% move first, and motivation follows. Because action kills doubt. Action rewires emotion. Action trains your brain that you are the master. Mental conditioning. You go to the gym to train your body. You face discomfort to build muscle. So why not train your mind the same way? Every time you push through a mental block, that's a rep. Every time you act when your brain resists, that's another rep. You're conditioning your willpower. You're building mental endurance. Because discipline isn't about never feeling weak. It's about acting stronger despite it. And the more you practice that, the quieter the weak voice becomes. Over time, your thoughts begin to obey you. You'll wake up earlier. You'll focus longer. You'll react slower to distractions. Because your brain has learned who's boss. That's the real definition of control. Not eliminating emotion, but mastering reaction. The elite don't seek silence, they build command. Some people chase inner peace by avoiding challenges. The elite find peace through mastery. They don't want silence. They want control. When that negative voice whispers, they don't panic. They respond with power. They don't let fear dictate the pace. They don't let doubt shape decisions. They use their mind as a tool, sharp, focused, obedient. And that's the level you must reach. Because once you master your inner voice, no external noise can distract you. The world can criticize you, doubt you, underestimate you. But if your inner voice is strong, you stay unshaken. That's the 1% mindset. Final reinforcement. Remember this truth. Your mind is the battlefield. Master it, and you win the war. Every excuse, every doubt, every delay, it all begins as a whisper in your head. The average man listens. The disciplined man commands. So when the weak voice speaks again, smile. It means another chance to win. Say it with conviction. Not today. Say it again. Not today. Because today you lead. Today you command. Today you master the voice in your head. Chapter 8. Consistency is a superpower. Everyone wants to go fast. Everyone wants massive results. Everyone wants the big leap, but the truth? The world doesn't reward bursts of intensity. It rewards those who show up every single day. Consistency beats intensity. Always has. Always will. The 1% understand this. They know success isn't built in one grand act. It's built in the quiet, unglamorous repetition of small habits. The average person burns out chasing speed. The elite build momentum by staying steady. You want to be great? Then learn this truth. Be consistent when no one's watching. That's where champions are born. The illusion of intensity. Everyone gets excited at the beginning. They go all in for 3 days, 5 days, maybe a week. But when motivation fades, they vanish. They think intensity will save them. But intensity without consistency is just noise. The 1% play a longer game. They move slower, but they never stop. Because greatness isn't built by doing something once in a while. It's built by doing it, especially on the days you don't feel like it. You don't have to do more. You just have to keep doing. That's the secret no one talks about. Intensity gets applause. Consistency gets results. The compound effect of showing up. Every small effort you make compounds. Quietly, invisibly. One workout won't change your body. One book won't change your mind. One day of focus won't change your life. But 1,000 of them. That's transformation. Every time you show up, even with low energy, you add another layer of strength. You don't see it yet. No one does. That's the point. The 1% stay patient during that invisible phase. The phase where no one notices your progress. Where the results seem distant. Where quitting looks easy. But that's exactly where momentum is being built. And one day people will call you an overnight success. They'll think it happened suddenly. But you'll know it was consistency, not magic. Momentum compounds quietly. Until one day people call it overnight success. Emotional stability through routine. Consistency isn't just about action. It's about stability. When you build a routine, you build a home for your emotions. You don't let moods dictate your day. You already know what needs to be done, and you do it. That's what gives you peace. That's what builds confidence. You don't wake up asking, how do I feel today? You wake up saying, it's time to execute. That's power. That's freedom. Consistency creates calm. Inconsistency creates chaos. When you do the same disciplined actions daily, your mind learns reliability. It starts to trust you. It starts to believe your word. And that self-trust, that's the foundation of success. The quiet grind. Most people only work hard when someone's watching. When they can post it, show it, prove it. But the greats? They do it in silence. They practice in the dark. They study when others sleep. They push reps when the gym is empty. Because they understand. The real work happens in private. You can't fake consistency. You can fake energy. You can fake words. But you can't fake showing up. Every single day. No applause, no camera, no audience. Just you and your mission. That's where strength is born. That's where champions are made. So when no one claps for you, when no one notices you, when no one believes in you, keep going. Because the world doesn't owe you recognition. It owes you results. And results only bow to consistency. The 1% rule. The 1% mindset is simple. Get 1% better every day. Not 100%, not 50%, just 1. You read one more page. You lift one more rep. You stay focused for one more minute. It doesn't look like much today, but in a year, it's a completely different life. The problem? Most people underestimate small gains and overestimate big moments. They want the explosion, not the evolution. But the truth is, everything great is built incrementally. Discipline is boring. But boredom is where mastery is born. So keep stacking your wins. Keep collecting small victories. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you've built something unstoppable. Consistency builds identity. Every time you follow through, even on the smallest promise, you're sending a message to your brain. I'm someone who keeps my word. That's how identity is built. The more consistent you are, the more confident you become. Not because of results, but because of reliability. You start to see yourself differently. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on momentum. You no longer say, I'll try. You say, I do. That's identity. That's strength. The discipline of small wins. Don't underestimate small wins. Making your bed. Finishing that workout. Writing one page. Saying no to distractions. Each one is a vote for your future self. You don't need to win the war today. You just need to win the next moment. Because life isn't changed in a single act. It's changed through 1,000 small victories stacked together. Be proud of the small wins. They're the reason big ones exist. The difference between amateurs and masters. Amateurs chase feeling. Masters chase repetition. The amateur says, I'll do it when I feel like it. The master says, I'll do it until it feels natural. That's the gap. The amateur gets emotional. The master gets mechanical, because the master knows consistency isn't emotional. It's habitual. You don't wait for inspiration. You build discipline so strong that you can't stop even if you want to. That's the level you're chasing. The mantra of the 1%. Say it to yourself. Be consistent when no one's watching. That's where champions are born. Because the truth is, the world will always be watching your results, not your process. So make your process unbreakable. Make your routine your armor. Make your discipline your identity. Every day you stay consistent, you're separating yourself from 99% of people who quit halfway. Consistency is your edge. It's your weapon. It's your superpower. Use it. Final reinforcement. Don't chase speed. Chase stability. Don't chase intensity. Chase continuity. Don't chase applause. Chase progress. Every single day you show up, you're becoming the person you were meant to be. No shortcuts. No excuses. No breaks from purpose. You want to be unstoppable? Be consistent. You want to be powerful? Be consistent. You want to be part of the 1%? Then keep going when no one's watching, because that's where champions are born. When you skip the workout, you buy comfort. But you also buy regret. When you save money instead of spending, you buy discomfort. But you also buy peace. When you study while others rest, you buy exhaustion. But you also buy mastery. Everything has a price. The only question is, do you want to pay it now or later? The 1% pay early. They pay in sweat, in boredom, in sacrifice. Because they know that's how confidence is built. Every moment you delay pleasure, you're not losing joy. You're multiplying future strength. The law of compounding discipline. Discipline works like interest. It compounds. 1 moment of control becomes 2. 2 become 4. 4 become a lifestyle. Every time you say no to an impulse, you strengthen your self-command. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you become harder to break. And one day, while everyone else is still chasing motivation, you'll be living in a state of quiet dominance. You'll move through life differently. Not because it got easier, but because you got stronger. That's the reward of patience. That's the power of waiting. The pain of now versus the pain of regret. There are only 2 kinds of pain in life. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. The pain of discipline is temporary. It builds you. The pain of regret is permanent. It breaks you. When you delay gratification, you choose the lighter pain. The productive pain. The pain that leads to progress. Most people don't realize. Comfort costs more than effort. The bill for comfort always comes later, in lost time, wasted potential, and quiet guilt. That's why the 1% live differently. They choose the pain that pays. Real-world examples of delayed power. Look at athletes. They train for years for a few minutes of performance. No crowd, no spotlight, just sweat, repetition, sacrifice. That's delayed gratification. Look at investors. They don't spend every dollar they earn. They plant it, water it, and wait. That's delayed gratification. Look at students, creators, entrepreneurs, all spending long nights building something no one believes in yet. That's delayed gratification. In every case, the principle is the same. You pay now to play later. The modern trap, dopamine on demand. Every scroll, every click, every short-term thrill weakens your ability to wait. Your brain gets addicted to reward, not because it's strong, but because you've trained it to be weak. You can't focus. You can't sit still. You can't delay pleasure, because you've built a brain that panics when it's bored. But boredom is where power begins, because boredom forces focus. So if you want to escape the modern trap, start by starving it. Delete distractions. Delay the dopamine. Sit with the urge and let it pass. Because every time you resist, you reclaim power. Every no builds authority. When you say no to the easy thing, you're saying yes to the powerful thing. Every small denial builds your authority. Every sacrifice builds respect, not from others but from yourself. The man who can say no to his impulses can command armies. Because power isn't in indulgence, it's in control. You don't need to suppress your desires. You need to master them. That's what separates the average from the elite. Control. The mental shift. Here's the mindset shift. Stop asking, what do I get now? Start asking, who am I becoming through this? When you shift your focus from instant reward to long-term identity, you stop chasing dopamine and start building destiny. You stop being reactive. You become intentional. You no longer care about the quick win. You care about the eternal edge. And that's how the 1% live. The rule of power. Every time you delay pleasure, you build power. Every time you delay comfort, you build control. Every time you delay distraction, you build dominance. It's not about what you get, it's about what you become. You can either be a slave to your impulses or a master of your actions. Choose mastery. Choose patience. Choose power. Because when you learn to wait, when you master the urge for now, you become unstoppable. Reinforcement and transition. Don't let the world train you to crave immediacy. Train yourself to crave mastery. The 1% don't need rewards to keep going. The work itself becomes the reward. You've learned how to delay gratification. You've learned to trade pleasure for power. Now it's time to master the next level, how to turn those small disciplines into a lifestyle of complete control and silence. Chapter 10. The 1% routine, discipline in silence. In a world that glorifies noise, distraction, and constant validation, the 1%, the truly elite, move differently. They live with structure, not emotion. They rise before the world wakes, not to prove anything, but to prepare themselves for battle. Every day is designed with intention. Their mornings are not random. They are rituals. They wake early, breathe deeply, move their bodies, read something that feeds the mind, and sit in silence long enough to hear their own thoughts clearly. While others scroll, they plan. While others react, they act. Discipline doesn't need applause. It grows strongest in silence. The elite understand that every repeated routine, every rep, every page, every early morning, compounds over time. These small daily wins build mental armor, while the rest of the world waits for motivation to strike. Their consistency creates a quiet momentum. They don't chase energy, they create it. They don't depend on motivation, they manufacture it through structure. Their life is built like a fortress, brick by brick, habit by habit. People often mistake discipline for restriction. But for the 1%, discipline is freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from emotional storms. Because when you live by principles instead of moods, you stop being a slave to your own feelings. Chapter 10. The 1% routine. Discipline in silence. In a world that glorifies noise, distraction, and constant validation, the 1%, the truly elite, move differently. They live with structure, not emotion. They rise before the world wakes, not to prove anything, but to prepare themselves for battle. Every day is designed with intention. Their mornings are not random. They are rituals. They wake early, breathe deeply, move their bodies, read something that feeds the mind, and sit in silence long enough to hear their own thoughts clearly. While others scroll, they plan. While others react, they act. Discipline doesn't need applause. It grows strongest in silence. The elite understand that every repeated routine, every rep, every page, every early morning, compounds over time. These small daily wins build mental armor, while the rest of the world waits for motivation to strike. Their consistency creates a quiet momentum. They don't chase energy, they create it. They don't depend on motivation, they manufacture it through structure. Their life is built like a fortress, brick by brick, habit by habit. People often mistake discipline for restriction. But for the 1%, discipline is freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from emotional storms. Because when you live by principles instead of moods, you stop being a slave to your own feelings. Every hour is a choice. Waste it or weaponize it. And the 1% weaponize every second. They don't need to announce their grind. Their results will do the talking. Repeat this phrase. Discipline in silence creates results that speak loud. So the next time you feel unseen, unappreciated, or unnoticed, remember, silence is your forge. Every morning routine, every quiet moment of self-control, every time you do the right thing when no one is watching, you are building power that cannot be faked. Because the loudest in the room rarely win. It's the silent ones, the disciplined, who always rise last and stand tallest. Most people talk about discipline. The 1% live it. They train when tired, work when bored, and show up when no one claps. Every quiet moment you choose action over excuse. You build a version of yourself no one can break. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You just need to do what must be done, again and again and again. The difference between you and the person you admire? One simple thing, consistency in the dark. So start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because when no one's watching, that's where you build the power everyone will one day see. This is the 1% mindset.